Should I transition to the next tank while I talk about this? Yeah, I think I should. Isopropyl alcohol came to me when I found myself falling in love with mushrooms. Just like those guys back there, in case that part didn't make sense. Okay, how's this shot gonna work? I think that's pretty good. I've also got to grab my bucket. This is the most important tool for this. Where is my, oh, there they are. Tweezers. The second most important tool for maintaining this little guy right here. Now this one I do water changes on, just because I have to. It's so tiny that if I didn't do water changes, it probably wouldn't work. I've got my bucket. I'm gonna put it on the table right here in case you're wondering what this little blob in the corner of the screen is. And anyways, I discovered, have I said it yet? I discovered isopropyl alcohol when I was falling in love with mushrooms in mycology. Because isopropyl alcohol is a super important ingredient in growing mushrooms. Pretty much any tutorial you read about anything to do with growing mushrooms, it's always going to suggest that you spray everything down with isopropyl alcohol before you get started and all that. And it's isopropyl this and isopropyl that. Since then, I've discovered that isopropyl alcohol is also the secret to keeping my, hold on, I'll just show you in fact. It's the secret to keeping the bed on my 3D printer nice and clean. Every time I print something on my printer here, I spray it down with isopropyl alcohol, and I found that if I don't do that, my prints, it'll eventually get so oily or something like that, the prints will just stop sticking. But I haven't had one single failed print since I started spraying isopropyl alcohol to clean this 3D printer board off. And I actually forgot that I had these. These are my magnetic filter, just some backs that I had printed. I forgot about those. I gotta actually make those things. That is how I discovered isopropyl alcohol, and it's improved my life in many ways. What else? What other ways has it improved my life? I guess we also, whoa, see that big old string coming off? This part is so satisfying. I need to get you better views when I'm doing these. I think I kind of glossed over and didn't really share with you my excitement for peeling the algae off. I do also want to get some more snails and stuff. I've got some snails in here somewhere, and there's still, I think there's like 5 fish in here still. They like to hide in the rocks and things like that. But I want to get a bunch more life for this tank as well. So that'll be coming in an update. I've kind of been reinvigorated with this little tank as of lately too. I've just been enjoying cleaning it out, taking care of it, cleaning this algae off, getting everything looking good all the time. Because when this tank is really sparkling, there's just something special about it. Another little addition that I added to this guy is, I don't know if you could call it an addition or not, but I've got these little air plants just sitting on the top here. And the reason I've got these little air plants sitting here is because I found I'm kind of doing another little experiment with these, and every once in a while, whenever I think about it really, I'll just give them a little, just a little dunk in the tank, and that's how I feed these. That's how I feed these air plants. I think I moved it over because this one started rotting, and I think I had it waiting in that terrarium or something like that, and it started kind of rotting on the bottom. So I wanted to get it into the open air, and I decided to play a little game with these air plants and see if the fish could not only feed the plants and stuff that live on top of this rock, but also if they could sustain some air plants as well. Plus I also get to feel like God when I pick them up and I dunk them, and knowing that they couldn't possibly survive without me. I still do like to have that. I still do like to have that semblance of control, even though I've pretty much been another one of the most proud things I want to pat myself on the back for this year is that just letting go of control in general. That's what I want to talk about while I clean this terrarium. I kind of glossed over it when I talked about how I've become more natural with this YouTube channel and things like that, and how I've kind of changed my perspective on how I record videos. And that word right there, how, is really the word that I had to kind of let go of. And it used to be the word that I need a new tool for this. It used to be the word that I would always ask myself with anything, you know, how do I do it? I've always been a how person, you know, how does it work? How do I grow mushrooms? How do I grow plants? How do I keep fish in a little aquarium and stuff like that? And how has gotten me so far. But how it was, I'm still haven't been able to answer, you know, like the questions that really puzzle me. You know, how am I alive? How am I here? Why am I interested in this stuff? Why am I so curious? How am I able to do all of this stuff, all of the things? How am I able to build all of this? And all of the animals out there, you know, can't do that. And I'm finding, you know, just before I get off in too much of a rant about this stuff, I'm finding that letting go of the how is how you discover those answers. And fortunately, I'm probably not even going to be able to share them with you. I'm going to try the best I can. But a lot of times the answers is just kind of this like knowing. It's this inside, it's this wisdom that just sort of flows into you. And you realize it's all around you all the time. You just have to kind of stop looking for it. Anyways, stop asking how is what the whole point of that was. I was going for another tool because I can't quite clean this gravel out good enough. So we're gonna bring our mini little rake to the rescue again. I used to think this rake was the most ridiculous thing I had, but I've actually found myself using it quite a bit. Sometimes I have to take some of these rocks out. This is okay, it's actually like an aquasoil. One of the things that's kind of changed is there's not really any plants in this aquarium anymore. I really want to fill this thing up with life under the surface as well as above the surface. I think I've kind of got the above the surface settled in and working, and you know, it still doesn't look that great, but it's starting to all sort of work together in a nice system. And I think we're almost ready to add some plants to the bottom again. I'm losing my words because I can't quite, well, I guess I can move that rock. What you're witnessing here is this rock breaking in front of my very eyes and me trying to act like it was intentional because I just wanted to clean some of this white stuff out. But in reality, I mean, that kind of sucks. But at least, you know what? You know what's nice about that happy little accident is now we can get in here. We can first of all rescue this little snail. Find some treasures like these little weird glass balls that I've got in here even. I got distracted because I saw this little guy back here. This little snail, I see him. Don't ask me what the name is, I don't know. One of the other things that I've accepted over this past year is that I don't know the names of everything. Sometimes I'll look them up, I'll do my best to look them up and I'll put them on the screen for the channel and stuff like that, but a lot of times, you know what, I just don't know the names of this stuff. And I think that I want my thing, my vision that I'm trying to kind of give to the world, if that's what you wanna, if that's the way that I wanna look at it. I think my thing, my philosophy would be that it doesn't matter what the names are. That's what it is. Sometimes it's okay if you just, you know, don't know the names of everything and you don't necessarily know how everything works. Sometimes it's okay to know just enough. It's about finding that balance between the two things. This is the fun part where I get to suck up all the crazy stuff and spit it into the bucket down here. Here's our nasty garbage bucket. I want to reiterate that it's a balance, because what I'm not trying to say is I'm not trying to say that it's not important to know things. I love knowing things. I love learning things. I love to know the names of things. I love to naturally know the names of things though. I don't love to like not be able to make a video because I'm so nervous just because I don't happen to know the name of like, you know, some moss or something like that. And I used to feel pretty inadequate about that sort of stuff, believe it or not. This is one of the things that going on nice long walks will teach you about yourself, is all these little ways that you kind of hold yourself back. Spoiler alert, it's usually something pretty silly, is what I've discovered anyways. The reason that I wasn't too worried about all of that grungy white stuff that I was knocking off was because of this part of the process where we get to do our vacuuming. I've got to be a little bit careful because I actually don't have too much RO water left. I almost didn't get to start making this video. I felt that moment to grab the camera. I was like, you know what? I can clean the aquariums right now. I want to rant to the camera for a little while. And I looked down at that water bin right there and I said, and I almost had that moment where I was like, oh, I don't have enough. I got to stop. Don't have enough water. But you know what? I second guessed and decided that is plenty. And that's another perfect example of what you're getting on this channel these days. The real me. Who knew it? I've been looking for this guy for so long. And it turns out that all the cliches were right and he's been here the whole time. I'm trying to make every little suck count with this sucker tube here. What do you call this thing again? I think it's called a turkey baster. So I don't really specifically do water changes on this thing. I just kind of like, you know, suck things out with this turkey baster, and whatever amount of water it took to do that, that's the water change. I really got in my way at the beginning of this year, I've discovered. And I was neglecting everything. I was neglecting my houseplants. I was letting everything just get messy. I was letting my whole life get messy. I felt like, you know, doing things like coming in and maintaining these aquariums, not really planning for them. Like, oh, I've got to set aside a block of time to clean the aquarium stuff, but more just finding the ways that I can. Oh, look, I've got a little something I can clean. Oh, I feel like let's sparkle that up a little bit. Yeah, finding those moments, finding those just those excuses to just sit here and, you know, just be with these creations, be with these beautiful little things that I've created. Taking the time to do all of that, it's brought back to my attention why I love all of this stuff in the first place. It's another discovery, another light bulb moment I feel like I've made over this past years. I really feel like I'm starting to anyways discover who I am. In the weirdest way, it's because I'm kind of realizing that it's always different. Does that make any sense? That's why I've decided I can't pre-plan videos. I'll never, if I'm gonna do YouTube, if I'm gonna make videos on this channel, I can't be the person that's pre-planning it out and you know, writing all the notes down and doing the research and doing all of that stuff. It's gotta be something that's just like real for me, because there's something inside of me. I just crave, that's what I love about YouTube. That's what I love about technology. I just crave just realness. And I don't know, when I started this experiment of just picking up the camera and doing things like this, it's just been so, I can't even describe how profound it's been for me. It just feels so freeing. It's not even that, oh, I'm sharing all my biggest, deepest, darkest secrets with you. It's just that I'm sharing the parts of my life now that I was truly trying to share before. And it's these little things. It's finding these magical little moments. It's finding these beautiful little things. We've hopefully had enough motivation to kind of create and surround ourselves with. I'm trying to get profound there, I think, and I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. I should have dropped the mic. I talked about that in one of my previous videos. I'm gonna try and clean some of this algae off these rocks, but I'm not gonna do too much. In fact, for this, I think I'm gonna use one of my toothbrushes in there. Where do all my toothbrushes keep going? I'm gonna use the toothbrush to scrape some of these rocks. Anyways, I've been making a few videos on this channel where I'm just playing my hand pan. That thing right up there. It was making those videos. I don't know if I'll continue them or not, but it was making those videos that really kind of like, it taught me to kind of connect with my own stream of consciousness, if that makes any sense. That's the best way I can describe it right now anyways. It allows me to kind of practice, or it allowed me, it still is allowing me to practice, you know, getting out of my own way, to connecting with whatever this is that's driving all of us, that's driving these plants, that's driving the fish and the snails and all that stuff in there. There's just something, this is gonna get a little weird. And maybe it's the magic speaking, but there's just something, that's kind of driving all of that. There's something that's giving us the illusion that we're kind of in control of these lives that we've got, and that we've got these, like, we think that we have this big past and we've got this big plans for the future and all that, but there's something there's something that's kind of swirling around and driving all of that. And it's the same thing that makes the plants grow, and it's the same thing that makes, you know, the mushrooms over there grow, or even the little baby mushrooms in the jars over there. Whatever that is, whatever that force is, it's something. And I want to spend the rest of my life figuring it out. And, you know, hopefully sharing that with you. But secretly, another one of the reasons that I love making these videos, one of the many benefits of making these videos, is just the fact that I can clarify my own thoughts better. So the little mud stuff, or the, what is it? It's like that same, it's kind of that like 2-part epoxy stuff that you smush together and squish with rocks. I mean, I don't want to endorse it or not endorse it. I'll show you right there that it didn't work after this thing is about, I would say about a year old at this point. Should we get this rock a little bit better into place without getting our sleeve too dry or too wet? You ever do that? Just say the complete opposite word, even if it doesn't rhyme or anything like that. I always find that weird when that happens. I'm not quite done sucking all this water up, but I wanted to kind of get this back into place so I could do my little smoosh on it. Once in a while I come in here and kind of smoosh around this whole system. Even this one's getting a little loose up there. I had this cable holding some moss and stuff on at one point. It's kind of embedded back in behind here. It's holding that tube down in there a little bit too, so I haven't wanted to cut it off, but I probably could at this point, or at least maybe use it to wrap some more. The problem is you can't really put moss in this stream of water here, and the waterfall's kind of taken on its own direction. It used to come down this way. Eventually it's come down this way. Maybe when we do an update, we'll move it somewhere else and, I don't know, pay attention to that kind of stuff. But for now, we're just gonna finish cleaning this up. Let me do the last few steps here. I don't like to disturb the ground too much, but I do like to kind of get as much of this detritus as possible. Is that what you call it, detritus? Watch it come out of the ground. This is the really cool part. It reminds me of like zombies or something. Oh, that wasn't a very good one. Let's do over here. I can see a bunch. This kind of will help it suspend anyways. There we go. Is that satisfying? Maybe if I'm making videos for another decade, I have kind of wanted to do like some time-lapse stuff. It's been one of those things I've had kind of cooking on the back burner, is taking a GoPro and doing some time-lapse experiments. That'd be kind of a fun, I don't think that's what you'd call a time-lapse, but that'd be kind of a fun slow motion shot. That's what made me think about that anyways. The point is, you'll think of all sorts of crazy stuff when you're maintaining your aquariums like this. So in the past I would be like, I would already be worrying when I was making the video about like, oh, well now I've gone off on these other tangents. Am I going to rename the video? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? And, you know, I haven't said it at all this video. So maybe I'll throw it in now. There's been a lot of things that the mushroom has taught me. I talked about one of them. It was isopropyl alcohol. It taught me how amazing isopropyl alcohol was. But, you know, one of the other many things that the mushroom has taught me is, actually I'd forgotten what I was going to say. It was to let go of the importance of all of this stuff. It was to let go of, to let go of needing to be perfect all the time. It was to let go of trying to create something that I wasn't, to impress someone that didn't even care, when really all I wanted to do was just to be me and learn to share things like cleaning out aquariums, and learn to just, I think what I'm trying to say is that if I can teach myself to be as real as I can, then I'm confident in the experiment of life that everyone around me will also be doing that the world around me will get more and more real. I don't know, that's what I want to see. I want to say that, oh, that's my big profound moment, but it's just kind of one of those things that I just want to experiment with, to be honest with you. I want to see if the world changes. I want to see if my life changes. It's probably another one of those trying to grasp onto control of some sort. I want to see if my life changes by me just kind of not caring as much about certain things. Did you ever see that movie called Office Space back in the 90s? I wanted to say the 80s. I was born in the 80s, but I actually grew up in I was a kid in the 90s. And Office Space was kind of like The Matrix. Similar to how The Matrix kind of, like influenced pretty much every ounce of what's inside of my head up here. Office Space was another one of those movies that just kind of like I don't know, you notice that there's those things that happened over your life. That's another thing I've been discovering lately is I've been remembering almost these little moments, these little Easter eggs. Like, what was I remembering? I remember how even the little Mario mushrooms, you remember that? Well, I remember when Nintendo first came out. I think it came out in 83 or maybe 85, somewhere around there. Anyways, I was a kid. I had Mario. Nintendo Entertainment System was like the coolest toy that I had. It took over my life for a little while, but nonetheless, I've discovered that the mushroom was calling me even back then, or maybe that was just the little seed that kind of inspired everything that's happened right now. I've been noticing those little moments a lot. I also remember I grew up in a pretty religious household. My parents were pretty religious people, and we went to church, and I went to Christian school and all that sort of stuff. And I remember we were in this store this one time, and there was a chair. It was shaped like an egg, and it had these speakers built into it, and it had this new age music. It had some CDs beside it I think it even said new age music or something like that. And I remember my parents going off on about how terrible that all of that was, and how it would let the devil into your head and all of this kind of thing. And it's funny because it was that moment. It was almost, I can almost attribute it back to that moment, although there's many of them. But it sent me off on a path that's influenced my life to this day. And I've been starting to pay attention to all of those little things that have happened over my life. It's interesting. It's fun. And at the very least, even though I'm starting to learn that the past isn't even real, it is kind of fun to talk about, and it is kind of fun to at least pretend I've got some of this wisdom, and it's kind of fun to pretend that something's been, speaking to me, or something's been trying to get my attention since I was a kid. But another one of the things, I think I'm going to have to fill the water while I talk about this one. It's the last step. I've been kind of just primping and prodding because I've been rambling, and I haven't really been doing much in a while. Let me get my train of thought back before I pour the water in. I think this is going to be the last shot of the video anyways. I talked about the egg chair, and I talked about how that was like a pivotal moment. It was the spark that sent me down just this whole valley, this whole rabbit hole of just being interested in that stuff, and being interested in metaphysics, and being interested in dreams, and being interested in, I remember being super, super interested in something called astral projection for a long time. I used to read all sorts of books about astral projection and that sort of stuff. I don't know. I don't even remember what I was going to say. Let's fill this thing up. Let's fill this thing up with water. Again, probably the most pivotal thing. You know what? I'm not even going to say what the most pivotal thing I've learned this year is, because the whole year has been just one giant experience. But if I was to say one pivotal thing, because you always have to try and end the video feeling smarter, at least I've been trying to lean into those negative aspects, or what I consider those negative aspects of myself, one of which is being that I feel like I'm always trying so hard to be so smart, But one of the things that I've learned, part of that importance of letting go, is it's all just one big conundrum. It's all just it's like opposite land. When you start letting go of the importance of everything, you start to really be able to capture what's real. And what's real is what's most important of all. And that's kind of the funniest part. It's all just about getting out of our own way. That's what the mushrooms have been teaching me. Hold on, let me get a shot of the mushrooms when I say that. That's what the mushrooms have been teaching me. That's what the plants have taught me this year. That's what the reef tank has taught me. I think I'm going to leave the light on this white mode, whatever this is. I really like it. I think I'm going to change that to that permanently. About letting go of the importance of everything is rediscovering how important everything is. And it's so important that you don't want to miss it. And if you're too worried about it, you're going to miss it. You got to be in that moment to catch those important things. You got to be in that moment to enjoy all this stuff. There is one other thing I meant to do. Hold on. We're not done yet. I've got to clip these. I've got to do a little trim on the top here. I come in here, I've been really maintaining these vines on here, and it kind of seems counterproductive. Isn't that the point? You want to keep letting them grow? But this ficus pumila stuff up here, it's super I mean, you can kind of see how invasive it is. It just takes over absolutely everything. I usually will cut most of these roots out even, and it'll eventually, it'll get its spindly little roots back down in there somehow. Let's look how far this goes, for example. Jeez. Where does it go? Okay. Kind of felt like it was one of those magicians, like constantly pulling the things out of their mouth with that one. I wasn't expecting it anyways. But you know, I'm trying to do everything one-handed and impressive for the video. Because if there's one thing that I will admit while I'm being real, I've spent my whole life. This is a deep, dark secret that I probably shouldn't be overly sharing with you. But I've spent my whole life, I've always wanted to feel special. It's another one of the things I've discovered. It's going to sound a little cheesy, but I'm also learning that I already am special. And you're special too. We're all special. It's pretty freaking special. You know what really kind of changed my mind? What I heard was that someone described, it was one of those like kind of like balance things in between like knowing too much and knowing too little, but someone described the amount of math that our brains are doing, the size of a computer in terms for back when I was building games and stuff. This is the kind of thing that would really kind of speak to me. But in terms of like a computer, our brains are supercomputers, and even the dumbest of people, even if you can think of the person that you think is the stupidest person that you know, even that person's brain is so far beyond what we as humans have been able to create as far as computers and technology and stuff goes. Just to get up and like walk across a street and not get hit by a car, or to do that stuff. It's magnificent. It's magnificent, and we're all special. And it feels good to feel special. But I'm learning to kind of feel special by me feeling special. I can also hopefully inspire you to feel special. I don't know. That's what I want to do. Is that what I want to do? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I think this is one of those times where I should just turn the camera off. I think what I'm trying to say is get yourself something. Give yourself, I like to call it a permission slip. And New Year's is a perfect time. The beginning of the year is the perfect time to say this. Get yourself some sort of a permission slip that gives you an excuse to do something exciting, to learn something new, to give yourself the opportunity to find yourself in the moments where you're discovering the magic that's all around us all the time. All right. If that wasn't inspiring, if that didn't make me feel special, I don't think anything will. So I'm going to turn the camera off. Good job, buddy. Thank you for making it to the end of my rants here. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. Not, but I have for this past year, and I tried to share a little bit with you. At the end of these videos, I'm always double guessing myself, saying, well, that was absolutely worthless. And then when I get into the editing, I have a good time putting it all together. I have a good time taking out, I clean up some of the stuff where I ramble on too much, and I go off and make a whole bunch of nonsense for a while. But overall, there's always magic in these videos when I'm creating them for you too. In the end, there's always these magical little moments that I discover, something that I won't have noticed in the background, something that'll just kind of like give me a new perspective on something. I always get all sorts of new perspectives on these projects just by kind of having this footage where I'm filming them POV style. Find those ways to create those magical little moments in your life. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say. I'll see you on the next one. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be soon, because I'm Mr. Natural now. I'm Mr. Real. I feel like I'm at least getting better at being real for you. Still down to number 2, but it'll surely do. Did you hear all those things rattling around in there? What was that? Oh, it must have been the aquasoil. Also just realized that these filter covers that I pulled off of my 3D printer over there in the closet, I actually had these printed because I remembered I needed them for our max yield bin that we're going to be using for our button mushroom project on an upcoming video. The real reason I turned that camera back on was not just to show you this little chili rasbora. Is that what it's called? A chili rasbora? I think so, swimming around in there. But I also realized I didn't really get a finishing shot of this one. We kind of made a mess in here a little bit. But over time, next time we'll get in here and we'll clean a little bit more of this out. And I think the reason I want to say all that is because it doesn't have to be perfect. Part of the job of maintaining these aquariums and things like that isn't to necessarily, always have it perfect. It's just to give it that little bit of a tidy, little bit of a cleanup, just to kind of make sure everything knows that you love it and you're taking care of it. And it'll kind of grow in, and it'll take over from there. I think is what I'm trying to say. I'm zoning off here and I'm being ridiculous. Look at these 3 little reservoirs swimming up here to say hello. I think they probably are waiting for some food. I usually will give them a little pinch every time I see them. You guys gonna come and eat for us? Probably not. They seem to be pretty skittish. I don't see them too often unless I'm sitting over there on the computer and I happen to kind of, glance back here and I see them swimming across into school. I definitely want to get even more of those guys. My dream was to have like a nice big school of those tiny little fish in there. Just imagine what they think when they see my giant head like floating around right in front of the, all I can think of is that this is their entire world. This is their entire universe. And once in a while, they swim around the rock and they see my big ugly mug staring down at it. It must be absolutely terrifying. I just wanted to show you one more time that fish really do exist in this aquarium. I keep wanting to say terrarium. I guess it's a paludarium. All the ariums. Anyways, do you see those reservoirs hanging out right in the front? I love when they let me get a little closer. They're so... I don't know what to say about these fish. I just love these fish so much. These little chili reservoirs. Whoops. I should have my camera on even better mode. I'm just saying, hey guys. Well, I'm glad I got some footage of you. Thanks for stopping by.